The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. At that time, Jesus was led by the Spirit into the desert to be tempted by the devil. He fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, and afterwards he was hungry. The tempter approached him. "If you are the Son of God, command that these stones become loaves of bread." He said in reply, "It is written, one does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes forth from the mouth of God." Then the devil took him to the holy city and made him stand on the parapet of the temple and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and with their hands they will support you, lest you dash your foot against a stone." Jesus answered him, "Again, it is written, you shall not put the Lord your God to the test." Then the devil took him up to the very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in their magnificence. And he said to him, "All these I shall give to you, if you will prostrate yourself and worship me." At this, Jesus said to him, "Get away, Satan. It is written, the Lord your God shall you worship, and him alone shall you serve." Then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and ministered to him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Tradition holds that the place where Jesus was tempted in the area of the desert in Israel was about 15 miles outside Jerusalem, east of Jerusalem, in a radius of about 35 miles that stretched all the way to the Jordan River and the Dead Sea. More specifically, scholars believe that it was a place called the Mountain of Temptation, or Quarantania, meaning 40, about 2 miles north of Jericho. Very clever name for this area, the Mountain of Temptation. But it was known for it being a place of rugged terrain and very mountainous and extreme conditions. The point being is that Jesus could not have been more alone in this area of Israel. And that was the point. He went there to be alone, to prepare for his mission, to get a sense of how he would be able to fulfill the task that the Father had given him and fulfill his mission. Furthermore, English translations of this particular gospel reading tell us that he was tempted by Satan in this area. But a further reading, or a deeper reading into this passage reveals to us that a more accurate translation is that he was tested, not tempted. Because if you look up the definition of temptation, the definition simply put is to entice to evil. And that wasn't the point. Jesus wasn't enticed to evil. He was tested. He was put through a trial. The Father permits Satan to test his beloved Son, to strengthen him, not to tempt him to evil, to build his resilience, to build his character, setting him up for a successful mission. Temptation seems to carry with it the insinuation that it's a setup to fail. But that's not what Jesus went to the desert for. He wasn't set up for failure. He was set up for success. The important thing here, I think, is these two realities speak to us about the reality of the Lenten season and what it's really all about. Throughout the 40 days of Lent, the sacrifices and penitential practices that we engage in, right, during these 40 days isn't to entice us to evil, right? God isn't setting us up for wrongdoing. He's setting us up for success. He's not trying to exploit our weaknesses and destroy our faith, but rather strengthen our interior to purify our hearts so that we might gain grace and virtue that we might gain self-discipline, so that Lenten season for us can be a season of success and growth and holiness and virtue, and not a failure. This during these 40 days of Lent is mainly to strengthen our interior lives in such a way that brings us back into a right order, right? A right structure, a right order, and right relationship with God. And I think one of the most important disciplines of the Lenten season is simply put that we need silence in our lives. Jesus goes to the desert to be alone. We need to be alone with God. We need silence in our lives. We need to be alone with him. Because being alone with God, right, there's things that we need to work out with him that require silence in our lives, that require that we listen attentively to the voice of the Father. And how hard and how difficult that is with all the noise that we're surrounded by in our world today. So much of what's wrong with our spiritual lives is that we're just too busy. We're too busy to be alone with God. But we need that silence. We need that time of being alone with him so that we can properly hear him. The problem is that our days are so full. We're so busy. We are a hyper busy people. Our whole world, our whole lives are filled with distractions and noise. And the little time that we do have for downtime is wasted, scrolling on our phones, watching TV. And that's the reason why we can't listen. The reason why we fall into the same pattern of sins, or the reason why we've lost a sense of sin. We fail to recognize silence, the necessity of silence in our lives. The reason why we can't grow in virtue. We fail to spend time alone with God. The reason why we fall into doubt, despair, and confusion, because we're too busy to listen. How is it possible to listen when we're engulfed by so much noise? How is it possible to listen to others when we fail to listen to God? I was particularly moved by Pope Leo's first Lenten message as Holy Father, where he notes that listening demonstrates a desire for relationship. Listening demonstrates a desire for relationship. And such a desire sets us up for a successful Lenten season. It sets us up for growth and virtue and grace. It sets us up for a deeper relationship with our God. For this year, for Lent, like I did last year, I'm listening to the Pray 40 challenge on the Hallow app. If you're familiar with that, you know what I'm talking about. And one of the key themes of this challenge is a prayer simply put, Lord, empty me, fill me, use me. Lord, empty me, fill me, and use me. May our Lord do just that in each and every one of us during this Lenten season.